Round here, them guns get the last word.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I just want to talk about the two characters, Paul Phoenix and Martial Law. These characters are historic. They're some of the most iconic in the franchise. When you talk about usage data, they're at the top. These guys are kind of like the foundation of what make Tekken Tekken. You know, you have martial art characters based off martial art experts. You have Martial Law being inspired by Bruce Lee. You have Paul Phoenix being inspired by Chuck Norris. We could sit here and talk about how great these characters are all day and how iconic they are. But one part of these characters that's been laughed at for a very long time is the story. If you look back at the beginning of both of their stories, it started off very good. In the past, where Yoshimitsu robbed the Mishima Zaibatsu tournament winnings and they gave it to everyone, one of those people in the crowd was Martial Law, and you can also see a little Forest Law right there with him. And then later in Law's ending, you can see how he has his own restaurant. Some people consider the beef to be too spicy, some people think it's just right, but we see that it lasts for so long. But then also on the flip side of Law, we see that he has a martial arts school, and this martial arts school is carrying even through Tekken 8. We can see posters in the New York stage where he's asking people to sign up and to join. Even though he has two businesses and he competes in every tournament, money was always a driving factor for this guy, and he wanted more of it. This is one reason why he competed in the tournaments, and this is also the reason why he followed along in the schemes of Paul Phoenix. Now, Martial Law was doing pretty well. Paul Phoenix was not. He started off great. He started off, having his own dojo as well. He started off having a nice motorcycle, driving around, hair blowing in the wind. But as time went on, misfortune found him oh so often. You had the biggest tragedy to this character where he won the King of the Iron Fist Tournament 3. He defeated Ogre. He left, celebrated, but then Ogre transformed and the fight continued. Why is there no referees? Why was there no one to say Paul Phoenix, hey, the fight's not over? I don't know. The rules don't make sense. But regardless, he left, so he was disqualified. He was eliminated. Jin Kazama came through and won the tournament. Paul Phoenix then went on this crazy downward spiral where he was obsessed with I won the tournament, I this, I that, and he eventually lost his dojo. He eventually became a laughingstock of the world. He eventually became a shell of the former glory he was. Then you have this version of him where he becomes kind of this deranged lunatic of a bum where he's practicing to fight aliens. Now, we know as the viewer, aliens play some kind of a big role in the universe that is Tekken. I mean, we can literally see UFOs and an alien in Tekken 8. We know that in past games, they also were featured as well. Ogre is considered to be an alien by a lot of people. So we know that he isn't completely delusional, but that's us with the viewer's context. If you look at what the universe of Tekken knows, everyone thinks he's a madman. The plot line of him needing money has continued for a very long time. Every single tournament, he's trying to get money. Every single event, he's scheming with Martial Law to no end. One would argue a person this powerful, the strongest in the universe, why doesn't he just go be a bodyguard, a bouncer? Boom, job instantly. I mean, he's also one of the best martial art experts on the planet. You can also talk about how the King of the Iron Fist tournament is a global event that the whole world watches. This guy, even though he's a laughingstock, someone would want to sign up with him. But look, we're getting off topic. We could talk about how Paul Phoenix being poor is one of the worst plot lines ever. But that plot line is what motivated him in Tekken 8. In Tekken 8, Martial Law and Paul Phoenix came up with this idea. They were both set to fight in the tournament. Now, the tournament was set up by Kazuya. He wanted everyone to participate, so he said, if you don't participate, you die. But if you do participate and you lose, you die. Now, what's very important to note about this, because it's another huge plot hole, is that Kazuya hosts many tournaments that are like regionals. For example, there's two in America that we know specifically happened. One on the East, which is the one that Leroy Smith won, and that allowed him to move into the finals. And then it's the one on the West that Paul Phoenix won and allowed him to move into the finals. But here's the weird part about that. Kazuya is planning to kill everyone who is not the definitive winner of the tournament. but he gives money to the people who wins the lower level tournaments, because we know that to be true, because the money is what caused the division between Paul Phoenix and Law. So look, let me break it down like this. Paul Phoenix and Law, they're basically forced to enter the tournament, and they do so. They want the money, they want to win, so they come up with this scheme where we're not going to fight to the death. We're two friends, let's come up with this scheme to dupe the Mishima Zaibatsu. Paul Phoenix tells Law, if you bow out and take a knee after one punch, then I will win the tournament, get the prize money, and then we will split it. And then from there, they both will be happy and they could do whatever they want with the money. I don't know specifically how much money the Mishima Zaibatsu gives out, but I know it's a lot. It's like a massive amount of money. So it seems like a pretty good plan that Paul Phoenix came up with. But the thing is that we find out later in the story that he did not follow through. But see, here's the thing as well. So Kazuya paid Leroy, Paul Phoenix, and all of the regional winners their winnings, even though once again he was planning to kill them in the finals. But the finals was disrupted by Lars, Victor, Claudio, and Zafina basically attempting to attack Kazuya Mishima. He got the power of Azazel, and then the story continued. Now, what happened later is that Kazuya had Nina recruit a lot of people to basically fight in an Avengers in-game style battle against Jin and his team, because Jin has a lot of teammates. And all of those people, you have Dragunov, you have Feng Wei, of course Nina, but one of the people that was fighting for Kazuya was Martial Law. And Martial Law was on the battlefield specifically looking for Paul Phoenix. And the reason why is because we find out that Paul Phoenix did not pay Martial Law the half of his money. This is crazy because you have two, what we were told, best friends struggling together forever, and they're coming up with a scheme to get money. They finally get that money, and then Paul Phoenix does the most slimiest, two-faced, backstabbing thing ever, and he says, no, I'm not going to pay you. We already talked about the money being like life-changing. It's an infinite amount of money that the Mishima Zaibatsu gives out at these tournaments, and Paul Phoenix decides to not give his friend, his best friend, any of it. He's like, you can die and you can struggle and you could be poor your whole life. I don't care. I'm rich and you're not. And this is kind of what makes Law kind of changes his mind and him say, I hate rich people, because from his perspective, rich people has done him dirty his whole life. Mishima Zaibatsu, Paul Phoenix, money changes people is what he's starting to realize. It's so crazy that these two characters were together for so long in the struggle, and as soon as Paul Phoenix get the money, he flips. I cannot explain how evil that makes Paul Phoenix. It's not like this is someone you don't know. It's not like Law had this coming. This is just Paul Phoenix being the most greedy, manipulative, evil entity there is. That's a crazy thing for Paul Phoenix to do. But also, it's kind of cool. Yes, we were expecting them to just split the money and live happily ever after. But this is one of the few things that Tekken did that has me interested to see what comes next. Yes, there's a lot of plot holes and some things don't make sense and it's kind of convoluted. But at the same time, I am interested to see if they stick with this plot line in Tekken 9. I am interested to see if Martial Law becomes a true rival to Paul Phoenix. And if now he's not going to bow down and he's not going to take a knee and let Paul Phoenix win. Now he's really going to try to make him suffer, in any way whatsoever. I want to see how spiteful, vengeful Martial Law becomes as a result of this. And I pray the developers do not retcon this storyline and pretend like it never happened and now they're cool again. I would like for them to dive into this a little bit so we can see a deeper level of these characters. One of my main criticisms with Tekken is that we only get surface level takes on these characters. But Paul basically betraying and backstabbing his friend by not giving him money when he knows he needs it, it shows a different level to Paul Phoenix that we never knew was there before. And I want them to hone in on that and analyze, why did Paul Phoenix do that? How does Law feel from it? Will these characters eventually put it all behind them and grow from it? These are just the questions that comes up from a decision like this, and I think they should stick with it, allow it to flourish for a little bit, but then also conclude it. Right? We don't want this rivalry between these two characters to go on for 7 games like, Yoshi, Brian Fury, Dragunov, Raven, etc. It's a cool thing that they did, a lot of plot holes along the way, but still it has potential to grow and become more.